would like to take I guess I might say a cold, hard look at what we're facing here. And I'd like to look at it in some depth. And it's a serious topic. I'd like to, as much as possible, get right to the root of it. We could talk around the topic, kind of describe it in glancing blows, but I want to go right to the heart of what we're up against here in a spirit of victory. In a spirit of victory. So what we are facing in the experience of humanity that we are a part of is that body of humanity has experienced and is experiencing a psychic break. A psychic break. Something got shut off or split off in the human experience. And I suppose there are many things that a person might mean by such a phrase as psychic break. But I want to be very specific about what I mean. I mean that the human experience has gotten split off from a knowledge, a knowing of identity, from who we are. From who we are and to what body of selfhood that we belong to. We are an individual self, yes. Each of us are individual, but we belong to a body of selfhood. And all of that knowing has gotten split off in the human experience. And so we are on a path of allowing that psychic break to be healed. And I'm talking about a path over millennia. We have religion, which comes into the picture, what we call religion. The origin of the word means something like this, to bind back. So the truth of religion, what it ought to be about, is not doctrine and dogma. What it ought to be about is this healing process, healing the psychic break, allowing the human experience to be bound back to the origin of it, which is identity, it's selfhood, it's presence. Presence relates to selfhood. So we need not to discard spirituality or religion. There are elements of religion and spirituality that probably deserve to be discarded. But the need for that binding back hasn't gone away. We need an evolved spirituality that heals the psychic break and allows us to be whole as humanity. So what was the attempt in our Judeo-Christian religion to heal this psychic break? Because the history of the break is there, and the attempt to bring healing to it is also there. I suppose we ought to start with the record of the break. It's in the story of what is most often, in my experience, called the fall. You know, it's Adam and Eve and the apple and the serpent and all that. There's no actual apple in the story, but that's another matter. It is obviously an ancient story, a symbolic story, full of great meaning. There are all the characters to the story, and there are many meanings to see in the story. But I want to focus on the elements that relate to the result of it. So what was the result of what happened? There are the mechanics of how it happened, but then there's the result. It had to do with hiding. Yes, they hid. And as it's put, the voice of the Lord calls out, "Where art thou?" We hid because we were ashamed. The psychic break, when we break off from who we are, we're hidden from it. It's hidden from us. And there's an experience of a lack of selfhood. A lack of selfhood. And how does that register for us as human beings? Does it not register as shame? I don't know who I am. I am not being who I am. I'm not being true to who I am. Who I am is hidden from me That's shame. That's shame. I'm acting in the world without knowledge of who I am. It is a story of a psychic break. The ancients were telling us, look, something has happened to you. If you met somebody who had a psychic break, how do you tell them that they're in the middle of a big problem? They're broken off from that thing that would make them whole. So it's not in their awareness particularly. You can hardly talk to them about it because they're not aware of it. When you think of it, selfhood, it's this elusive thing, is it not? It's invisible. Where do you find a self? And so it is for human beings and for humanity. The reality of selfhood is elusive. It's an invisible matter. It's not to be found in the outer flesh. It's an invisible it's a knowing of something invisible. And the whole pattern of selfhood to which we belong is something invisible. We've been using recently this term, family of souls, to talk to name the collective selfhood to which we belong. We're not just an individual self, we belong to a body of selfhood, an invisible body. Yes, there's in the body of humanity visible form, but the experience of selfhood is elusive, if you will, invisible. So biblically, we have this story of this psychic break, and then there are many tellings of how it happened and the repercussions of it. And then there's a lot of telling of what to do. One of the most prominent figures in the story is Moses. Moses, who we speak of as the lawgiver. He brought us the 10 Commandments. What would you do if you were leading such a group of people? In the story, you can practically see him tearing his hair out. What do I do? And if you read the 10 Commandments, it's pretty basic stuff, right? All right, everybody. No, you can't be killing each other, you know. It kind of went to that. Very basic stuff to create some pattern of order. So we think of Moses as a lawgiver, but he was something far more than that. He was a man who had an experience of the healing of the psychic break in himself. He had a mystical experience. We speak of it as the burning bush. And a voice spoke out of that burning bush. And who was it who was speaking out of the burning bush? It was self. I am that I am. He had a deep encounter with that self that he'd gotten split off from. A deep mystical experience. And with that experience of healing, he began to think about and act upon how he could bring that healing to people. Most specifically, his people. But he didn't toss out the others who came along either. And ultimately, it was something for the whole world. So what was Moses' brilliant cure for the psychic break? In my words, it went something like this. Knowing that you've lost the experience of who you are, and knowing that who you are and the body of selfhood to which you belong seems like something foreign to you, different and other than you. Knowing that what you see as worthy, feeling the shame in yourself, what you see as worthy and honorable is something other than you. Here's the remedy. Love what seems separate from you. Love the truth of you that seems separate from you. And keep loving it. And be true to that love. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all your heart and mind and strength. Love it. Yes, it seems separate. Love it, and then see what happens. See what you experience